Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm a volunteer with the Search and Rescue group here in Lane County, Oregon. The radio communications part of that Search and Rescue group. And what I thought I'd show you is my budget-oriented Go Box. Obviously, this isn't intended for going out on the field like in a backpack situation. This is more for setting up like at fire department or some other place when there's a disaster or some sort of need for emergency communication. I've also used this at bike race events that our group provides emergency communications for, so it's turned out to be a very handy setup. And like I said, this is very budget oriented, which was my goal. So to tell you a little bit about it, the box I got at a discount store. I think it was about $35. The one bad thing, I think for the amount of weight that's in this toolbox right now, I don't really trust this handle to carry it very far, but it does have some pretty nice handholds on the sides, so it is very usable in that regard. So to get started, the radio I have is a Kenwood TM281, and this is a single band radio, but like I said, this is kind of my budget setup, and that's the radio I went with. I've got an MFJ headphones, and then I also have an MFJ SWR power meter. And since I can never remember how to set it up for taking measurements, I printed out the instructions and then taped them to the top of the unit. When not hooked up to 12-volt battery, I have this Jetstream power supply. I believe this is rated for 25 amps. The radio, I think, is about 14 amps maximum, so this power supply is plenty good enough for that. I tried buying the smallest, lightest one I could find, but I think I ended up going just a little bit heavier because this fit my budget a little better. Oh, the one thing I do like about it, it does have the Anderson power pole connectors on the back. And it's also got the display for volts and amps. And then I just have an inexpensive external speaker. This Kenwood does have the front mounted speaker, but sometimes it's nice to be able to aim the speaker in a different direction without having to move the radio itself around. In the first drawer is basically the cables. I have a little extension cable here for the radio in case with just bare ends on it, and that's just in case I have to go with a little slightly different setup than what I typically go for, but just kind of an emergency setup. This is a power cord for the power supply, and then a power distribution box. I made this from plans that I'd found on the internet. This cigarette lighter socket. For some reason I thought it'd be a good idea to have this in here. Not sure I'll ever use it, but I threw it in here anyway. Power cable for the radio, and then the power cable setup for when using 12-volt battery. And then my coax for the radio, and then I have a coax jumper if I want to put the SWR meter into the setup. Down here I have kind of a basic flashlight lantern thing. works pretty good, really. And then I have the instruction book for the Kenwood radio, and I also have a printout of all the different repeaters that our radio group might use in an emergency situation. And then the microphone for the radio, and then just a little notebook and pen to have on hand. Down here is my tools drawer. I have a cheap little screwdriver. I think I got this at the dollar store, but it's kind of nifty that it's got its own little bits and sockets in it. Definitely not high quality, but for the purposes that we use it for, works just fine. And then I threw in some extra bits just in case we ran across something a little out of the ordinary. Little multimeter. Actually, it's kind of a neat little setup, pretty small. And then I have some heat shrink tubing, different sizes. I have just a little bit of solder here. Some of the little mini screwdrivers and Phillips heads, electrical tape, hose clamps. This is actually a part of my antenna, but it's the only part that will actually fit in my toolbox. Then I have this multi-tool. Basically use it for the pliers, but it does have a few extra tools that might come in handy someday. And then just kind of an inexpensive wire crimper, wire stripper. A little lighter can be used to put the heat shrink tubing on. Doesn't work real well, but it can be made to work. And then I have some different coax connectors, and then some spare fuses for the power distribution box. Various electrical connectors. And then I've got some different sockets that work with that screwdriver, both metric and standard. So that's basically my budget-oriented Go Box. I think it took me about a year to put all this together with my budget, but I've been very happy with it, and it's been pretty effective. I guess my thought was that I didn't want one of those systems where, you know, the radio and the power supply are all hard mounted into a unit. Those are real nifty, you know, kind of a plug and play situation. But this, I can have the radio set up in here if I want to, or I can set it down on a table or a bench. So I do have to go through a little bit more of a setup time, but I have a little bit more flexibility, I think, than some of the other systems. So I hope you've found this of interest, and thanks for watching.